Welcome back, Season 10, CLIC Connect. Producer Danny and I are back. Can't wait. We've got a great first guest, but before we bring him out, I would like to thank our great friends at Red Roof Franchising who are making this show possible. Call Matt Hostetler and his team. They'd love to talk to you about their brands. Hey, they've got an outstanding soft brand. Their extended stay that their brand is doing extremely well, and their economy brands that they're so well known for. So give Matt a call. They'd love to hear from you. Also, producer Danny, thank you. You've made it an absolute joy for all these seasons that we've been working together. I thank you and I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. No further ado, I would like to bring out Charles Oswald, President, CEO, Aperture Hotels. He's coming to us from Hot Atlanta. So, Charles, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing fantastic. It is great to be here. Hey, Craig.
Oh, thank you for joining us. It means the world to me that you've made the time to join Danny and I today and our audience. Do me a favor. Would you tell the audience about yourself and your company, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, Aperture Hotels is a third-party hotel management company. We operate Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, IHG, and independent upscale and upper upscale properties. And we're operating in the select service, compact full service, and lifestyle categories. In terms of myself, I'm just an old industry veteran who's been around, experienced about 300 properties, or managed some 300 properties to date. Having run operations previously with companies like Noble Investment Group, leading up to their management company sale to Interstate Hotels. And then I was CEO of HP Hotels for 8 years, leading up to the sale to Reigns. And then, so Aperture, I just launched this company last year with the intent of filling a void in the industry. So we're real excited about this, and we're already up to 27 properties.
Wow, 27 properties already. That's phenomenal growth.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for that segue, because I wanted to talk to you about growth. We have to have growth. We've got to continue to have forward momentum. So what are you doing growth-wise? I mean, it's got to be third-party management agreements and possibly some acquisitions with the right company. But let's talk about the management agreement side before we delve into that, because I think that's a little bit of a sticky scenario right now. Does people have the cash? Is it the right company? Is the culture, and so on and so forth? But we'll get into that in a minute. Let's talk about third-party management agreements. How are you doing with that? What are you looking for to give the ownership?
Sure. First off, I'll say that the void that Aperture filled is, we're a boutique size company, right? So we're boutique and attendant, but at the same time, we've got a lot of, we're large enough to bring the support mechanisms to the properties and what they need, and to have all those subject matter experts on our team. And that team is really experienced. Our leadership team has experience managing some 700 hotels and 40 plus brands and across 40 plus states in the Caribbean. So what has that led to? And back to the third party question, our growth has primarily come through management company churn. So I think what's happening today is there have been a lot of pressures over the last few years, and asset managers realize that they have diminishing returns in their portfolio, and they can't change interest rates. They can't change the rising cost of labor. They can't change those inflationary expenses, but they can change the management company and see if they can find someone that will take a look at market share strategies and expense control strategies with a set of fresh eyes. So that's really worked in our favor at this point, and opened some doors with us. And pretty much everybody that's come to us and helped us grow to that 27 properties in just a year and a half has been somebody that was either I've managed for before, or they were referred to me by somebody that I managed for before.
Nice. Those referrals are golden, and that's great. How are you seeing the asset management people right now, because I think there's an evolution going on there. I think you've got a lot of people that are on the cusp of retiring. Um, I'm not sure if they're up for whatever the next cycle is. And I also think that they're finding that there's some difficulties with the lenders, whether it's a community bank or a national bank, credit union, Wall Street, or various others. So I think there's some changes coming. What are you seeing with the asset managers?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, in the industry as a whole, we saw a lot of turnover, right, under the stress and duress of the pandemic, and it just wiped some people out. And there were some who said, I'm going to jump off this train and retire maybe a couple of years earlier than I'd originally anticipated. And that created that was part of the disruption that we saw, and that allowed some new entrants. Those folks are just getting their feet wet and immersed and getting into the rhythm of their job. They're seeing their first couple of annual business cycles and starting to deal with things like maturing debt, PIPs coming due, and repositioning opportunities in their portfolios. So there is a little bit of a shift in asset management, and I would say that during the pandemic, asset managers got probably more involved in just trying to maximize cash flows and stay alive. Yeah. And now some asset managers are looking at exit timing, maturing debt and refinancing. Is it finally time to do that brand PIP? And reposition this asset? What's next?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's all part of it. I think, okay, let's say you got a $10 million PIP in. What's the ROI on that? Is there one? I'm not sure. Okay.
And so sometimes it's just you get to live to fight another day and stay in the brand and get a franchise, a license extension, or not get terminated, right? And so unfortunately, there are some owners who might have a $40 million asset that it might be Marriott or Hilton or some premium brand today. Yeah. That if they lose that flag, they might lose 40% of their asset value. Yeah. I mean, and so the cost of executing that PIP might be a lot less than the cost of losing the flag. Or losing the deal altogether, right? When they lose their comfort letter with the lender and they, they're in breach of their loan. So there's a lot of things to consider in addition to the repositioning opportunity there.
I agree with you. And those conversations with the lender about going, hey, we want to reposition and we want to move from A to B as our flag, and the lenders go, well, wait a minute, we made this loan based on A, so. We're gonna have to have a conversation about this.
Yeah. Especially when you're going downstream, they tend to get more concerned.
Right.
But that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So acquisitions, M&A season seems to be 12 months a year now. You and I have both seen companies that initially this acquisition either gave us what? Or this could be really a good move, and maybe it didn't end up that way, or it could have ended up better. How do you go into looking at that M&A, scenario? I was with one company. We were bought and sold 3 times within 2 years.
Oof.
And I had no idea who I was working for at the end. It's like, what's our ticker sign on Wall Street now? I got no idea.
Right. Well, so as for management company M&A, that's something that certainly it's on the table for us. We'd be a buyer, not a seller, if we go through management company M&A. We're tracking some small management companies right now, but it has to be a quality business, and it has to be the right cultural fit in order for it to work. One of the challenges I've seen and I've heard from a lot of my friends who have gone through the M&A process is that there's these 3, 5, and even 10-year payout cycles, and and it's based off of maintaining that original portfolio size. And to your point, when you go through that, if there's not a great cultural fit, often, we're in a relationship business, and often owners will not renew at the anniversary date, or they may just term and not accept the assignment and assumption of the management contract. And so they don't make it to the other side. So I'm hearing numbers as much as 25, 30, 40% of the payout actually not occurring because somebody went for the biggest number, but the portfolio did not stay intact on the other side of the acquisition.
Yeah. I know when I worked for a couple of different companies, first thing I did, even before I walked through the door, I read their management agreements. Mm-hmm. And it's like, really? It's like, okay, there's a glimmer of something good here, but, this thing's worded so poorly, I mean, there's escape hatches everywhere for both parties. Now,
right.
Nobody wants to be in a bad relationship, but you do want a management agreement that has some teeth to it and that's strong and protects both sides. Mm-hmm. So what have you seen in some of these agreements? Have you looked at them and gone, what were they thinking? Or, wow, this is really a good point, and I like these items, and I'm going to incorporate these. Yeah.
Well, without calling anybody out specifically,
No.
So I'll share a couple that were just interesting on either extreme to me, since you asked. One of them I was looking at, a client wanted to bring a property to us and to manage, and it was managed by one of the major brands, had a 50-year contract. The institutional owner did have, I was like, well, is there a performance clause here? Yes, there was. So that performance clause was written for 5 years. So after each of the anniversaries, if they didn't hit certain performance hurdles, that institutional manager could terminate, but from thereafter, it's locked in for the next 45 years.
5 years.
Well, crazy, right? 45 years, that's a long, most of my friends haven't been married that long. And so
I was never married that long.
What was interesting is the brand had missed all 5 performance hurdles.
Oh, no.
The institutional owner had not terminated them. And it was literally within 90 days after the permanent 45-year lock that this came to market. So the transition couldn't occur, and I found myself in a consulting situation, talking to somebody at a management company who just said, "Go pound sand," right? Why should we bother cutting costs? I mean, you can't fire us. And on the other hand, I've seen these 30-year termination clauses, and you know what? That is equally as terrible.
Yeah.
When in the relationships that I've seen where the owner wanted this 30-day termination right, the management company is not all in. Like, they're worried about, do I deploy all these resources and if I could just be terminated every day, and this isn't like a long-term commitment, we're not collaborating together for the long term. And the owner can basically make a decision on a whim, right? I got one bad P&L or 1 star, and it's over. So that's not healthy for the business, and smoothing out the peaks and valleys and the predictability of the business. That just creates volatility for everybody, like your 3 M&A experiences.
Yeah, that's not a good situation for anybody. It's just way too much, not enough thought into let's enhance the asset, let's enhance the team, bring value. I mean, that's holding somebody hostage. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. But tying back a little bit to that asset management question you asked earlier too, is the best owner asset manager is one, where, and management company relationship is one where they're collaborating together and working on things to advance it forward, not working against each other, or in a combative way, but where they're committed to each other, not compliant to some 45-year term that, I can't get rid of them, right? You want to know that you can, but it needs to be done thoughtfully and with a cure period. That's really the best outcome for everybody. We don't want absent owners who, when we need a new boiler, they're not answering the phone and we're not allowed to buy it because our management contract says we couldn't do it. You need to be there. We need to be there when the owner's there, and that's the right collaboration.
That's the only way it really works. It's got to be collaborative. It can't be combative all the time.
100%.
It just can't. Deals. The market is certainly challenged here in California.
Oh yeah.
Just had, the Fed cut the rate, by 0.5 point. So, everybody got used to interest rates that weren't sustainable and basically on a par level with residential lending. And you just can't do that anymore. What are you seeing deal-wise, real estate deal-wise, where they're bringing you in to say, hey, we're looking at this hotel to buy, how are they taking into consideration rates now? Now, I still don't think we're going to, I know a few deals that were scheduled to refi. Some people are trying to renegotiate without upsetting the lender and the apple cart. But I think they're probably going to be forced into closing under the rate that they're on right now, unless they want to buy it down.
Sure.
But, rate cuts, capital, what are you seeing out there right now for deals? Is volume down in all the markets you're in? Is it up?
High interest rates definitely put a damper on acquisitions of these last couple of years, as well as, of course, new development and PIPs and so on. But yeah, it put a damper on acquisitions, and they decelerated quite considerably through 2023 and into 2024. However, this last quarter, Q2 of 2024, saw a pretty substantial lift, and our sense is that there is some more lift happening right now. I think that interest rates are part of what's driving that. Debt maturity is part of what's driving that. An inability to execute a PIP if you're already in a property and you don't have enough FF&E reserve left to do that today. That may drive a sale where somebody can finance that change now at better interest rates. So my sense is that we're going to see where Q3 picked up a little. I don't know if it picked up as much as Q2, only because some people might have been holding out for the actual interest rate change. But it seems like there are a number of deals sitting right there, tied up and ready to advance now in Q4. And so I think there'll be some acceleration there.
Good. I think you're right on that. I mean, I have a weekly video conference with about 15, 17 lenders that are hospitality and all other asset classes. So I try and stay in the loop on that and see what they're doing. Okay. Everything from hard money to institutional grade. What are you seeing for capital? You've got to be talking to lenders all the time, seeing what they're doing, what they've got an appetite for, what they don't have an appetite for. What are they saying their favorite child is right now? I mean, I see the amount of multifamily being built out here in the Golden State. It's like, okay, are you guys creating another bubble like the office buildings that don't, perform anymore? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would say that, first off, hotels have become the darling of the commercial real estate class all of a sudden, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so, delivering the highest returns on invested capital, at this point. So I think that's a good. So debt markets, because of that, are certainly improving with the loosening of interest rates, and there's less volatility here that helps improve underwriting outcomes. In terms of capital markets, I think that should improve as we're marching forward. I was just talking to somebody today, a European investment group, and they were saying how they were telling me this morning that, look, we see the dollar softening right now, right? That's going to attract international cash. And they said, we've been waiting on the sideline for that nexus of when the dollar softens, the interest rates are finally cut, and there are less volatile conditions like what existed in the pandemic. And so you brought those three things together, and it seems like we're just entering that period right now. And so opportunities will arise.
I agree with you on all that, except for one little caveat that I want to add, and that's national elections. We have a short memory in this country, and every 4 years we go through this, people. It's like somebody's got the box and they decide, okay, we're going to turn it upside down and see what falls out. So we got to get through the election, and I think we're gonna get back to some stability.
I saw a stat, Craig, that was kind of interesting from our friends over at LARC, and I want 100% quote it because I want to make sure I don't screw it up. But I want to say they looked at like the last, I think it was 7 elections, maybe.
Yeah.
And in 4 cases, the markets were down leading up to elections. In 3 cases, they were up, and the net change overall was, if you looked at all of them on average, it was like 1%. It was actually a much smaller and less predictable event than we might think, because there's always other background noise, something else is going on economically, or there might be that that black swan event or whatever that's happening around the time of the election. So it's difficult to say, right? Like you have to throw 2020 out. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, pandemic. It just nothing was normal about that. So I don't know if that was the one of the 4. We might be 3-3, 3 up, 3 down of the last 6 elections before then.
I think you're right. It's.
And by the way, I'm referring specifically to RevPAR percent change, not overall necessarily GDP as a different tracking. Although there's certainly a correlation.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that. I think we cry wolf a little bit too much.
Yeah,
okay, we make it a bigger deal than what it is. Now 2008. Okay, we went into a financial meltdown, and everybody started looking at bubbles, but I don't think anybody was prepared for what had happened. Okay, we woke up one morning and it started in Australia and swept across the planet, and it's like, what? So it's it's a little.
To your point, it's funny, the crying wolf. So we have a client that we're working with, who is hard set that if one candidate wins, they will not proceed with their development. If the other one wins, they'll proceed post haste, like they're going to run into it. I said, really? Do you think the president makes that much of a difference in your plan? And I think we have to step back sometimes, get away from the trees and look at the forest. And the overall trend that we should be following is that travel is more and more a part of our everyday. It's a growing industry. I mean, and hotels have been increasing. There's been increasing demand ever since Mary and Joseph were turned away at the inn. I mean, I'm just saying, like it's been growing so quickly with the advancement in transportation, the ease of booking, and frictionless, and it's just safety is there. So things have really evolved over the years, and I don't know why anybody would make a decision, especially about something that is long term, as a hotel asset and developing it based off of who might be president in January.
Yeah, that's a new one. You stopped the band with me on that one, but I got to tell you, you're right about travel. Wyoming's about ready to cross $750 million in revenue from tourism. Okay, and that's just Wyoming. California is, and even though San Francisco is off about 40% from Asia Pacific. You know, we're closing in on about a 22% increase over 2019. So, I mean, the numbers are there. I love this industry. We're definitely the canary in the coal mine. Okay. We're the first one affected, but we're the first one to recover as well. And I like that aspect to it. I mean, nobody likes a down cycle for sure, but at least we see some of those indicators first. We're affected by it first. We're going to recover first. So that's a positive.
Part of what I think is interesting too, though, is the recovery and what's going on in our industry today. It's not necessarily even. So if we were to look at these last couple of years, quarter by quarter, you'll find, for example, economy has been down.
Yeah.
Okay. Like every quarter and almost every month.
Yeah.
And if you in mid-scale down a little bit less, and upscale's been up, upper upscale's been up substantially, and luxury's been up. So it's an uneven recovery, and people have been seeking more of the experience. And whereas during the pandemic, a lot of stimulus checks and time off helped a lot of and more savings helped a lot of blue collar travelers enjoy a leisure experience. Today, they're seeing an increase in delinquency on their credit card bills, late payments on their auto. And if they have to make a choice between taking a trip to the beach or losing their car, they're going to try to keep their car. And so we're seeing it. That's not affecting the top end, but it is affecting the bottom end price classes.
I agree with you. I've got a client that's got 15 to 17 hotels up in the Central Coast. They're all boutiques. They're all beautiful. They're different experiences. And once we reopened hotels during the pandemic, they've been running 90% occupancy.
Wow.
And that was year round. So, great numbers, unbelievable. And it's extended stay. Look what they're doing. Look what Rebuild America Act, or whatever the actual name is, for roads and bridges and everything. Extended stay is in a boom position right now, and they're going to continue to grow. I was just at the My Place owners convention, and I got to tell you, you could feel the electricity from the moment you set foot at the property where it was being held. And these guys are, they're busting through the door. They've got, I think, 73, 74 assets open now. We've got another 12 that are either shovel ready or under construction. Got a gentleman that just signed a 9-pack deal with them in multiple states.
Wow.
So they're going to be hitting critical mass pretty quickly. So really proud of them.
What's interesting about extended stay, though, is it certainly is less volatile. Performed well through the pandemic, which I think a lot of owners like, and it has a more predictable labor model. Which is so there's certain safety there. So that all has worked in its favor. So investors are flocking towards extended stay because of that economic certainty. On the other hand, I would say that the customer is not flocking that, right? It's more of a market by market situation. But overall, across the country, the length of stay is actually shorter today than it was a year ago, and a year ago was shorter than the year before. So when you look at that trend, it's not that people are necessarily staying longer and that we need more extended stays. It's more that it's easier to raise capital for a smaller deal like that, that's less threatening and has fewer, less wage risk.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You're in California, so you see what's happening in labor markets.
Oh, oh, yeah. Between here and the Aloha State, all you need to do is throw in the Empire State, and then you've got the perfect trifecta. Okay?
Right.
And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said once, all bad ideas start in California.
That might be the most quoted thing that I ever said. I might have even said more specifically Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, yeah.
All bad ideas begin in LA.
Yeah. Well, being somebody who escaped from LA about 22 years ago, I agree with you on that. But I think you could throw a few other states into that scenario as well.
It seems like they come up with it there, and then someone says, "Oh, well, LA is trying this. I think we should too." And so someone in New York says, "Did you see what they did? I think we'll limit the square footage being clean per day in the rooms, and we'll come up with some rules around this stuff." And then before you know it, kind of catches on.
There we go.
Unfortunately, I'll tell you just a related, like an article I saw, a great disconnect is San Francisco, right? We know San Francisco has just struggled to recover. Conventioneers, convention planners need to feel like San Francisco is a great, viable destination and is going to service their events in the future. Yet here we are in a situation that while 46% of all CMBS debt is now delinquent, hotel CMBS debt, we have a big labor movement there pushing for massive raises, but retroactive raises, and with addition to the pension plan. And so there's a disconnect. There's going to be some real challenges there. And, a lot of hotels are going back to lenders. And so, we'll see how that all pans out. But
absolutely. Hey, it's going to present an opportunity for somebody, but we're almost out of time. And you know what? We need to get to our lightning round. So producer Danny is going to put 2 minutes on the clock. And it's word association. So you're just going to give me first thing that pops into your head, and starting now. Favorite sport?
Mountain biking.
Nice. Corvette or Porsche?
I have to say Porsche.
Nice.
Performance.
There you go. Movie or concert?
Movie.
Remote working?
Possibly less productive.
Social media?
Mixed bag.
There you go. Favorite band, group, duo, or solo artist?
The Smiths.
Nice. Streaming or cable?
Streaming.
Nice. Hotel lobby?
Active.
Best restaurant in your city?
I'm gonna have to say my wife's kitchen, but
ooh, smart man, love it.
Hear me.
Favorite vacation location?
Ooh, Maui.
Nice. You did that in 1 minute and 18 seconds. Congratulations. Love it. Charles, we are just about out of time. So how about a shameless plug? How can people get a hold of you and find out more about your company?
Yeah, www.aperturehotels.com. And look, I would love to hear from you if there's anything we can do to help turn your properties around.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you for joining us today. Definitely going to have you back on the show. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you, and thank you for making the time to join us today.
Thank you so much. All right.
Take care.
Take care, sir. All right, bye-bye.
What a way to start out season 10. Great guest. Charles Oswald was amazing. So a couple of things before we wrap this up. I do want to thank our good friends over at Red Roof Franchising. Without them, without you, without producer Danny, without our guests, we don't have a show. So call Matt. He'd love to hear from you. Tell him that producer Danny and I sent you. They'd love to work with you. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate you. Also, Glenn Hausman and I are going to be at the Lodging Conference. So we are going to be doing a special live Friday night audit on Monday from the Lodging Conference. So come join us, be on the show, be part of the audience, have some fun with us. And Glenn and I will be doing a 3-minute Thursday going over our thoughts and impressions of the lodging conference. So join us for that live show as well, and maybe join us on air for that. March 5th and 6th, 2025, the 8th Annual California Lodging Investment Conference. Registration is going to open up soon, and we do have a special lodging conference discount that'll start in October 1st and end on the 13th. If you use the discount code TLC, you will save $50 and prices will never be lower. So there we go on that. Danny, thank you for everything. Everybody, please remember to follow us on all the social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As I'm fond of saying, be kind, share your knowledge, go be amazing.